coming from the low world of our dreary day-to-day jobs, stepping out of those pajamas and into the sword, board, and spellbook of the RPG world comes Fireball the Gazebo. That was a rough intro, Vince, but this is the world that Fireball the Gazebo lives in. How are you doing?
I'm good, buddy, but I agree with you overall. Your sentiment was well placed, right? Because why do we love these games so much? Because they allow us to escape into a world where problems can be solved by action. It's nice.
Right? Yeah, this thing, I don't like it. You may have a different opinion, but I'm going to do something about it right now.
Yeah, you can fix things. It's pretty cool. I think that's ultimately the fantasy.
Yeah. I think that, like, feeling you have some kind of ownership over your own future.
Agency.
Yeah. Over your own future. And usually you come out looking, smelling like roses and feeling good about yourself and save the princess and slay the dragon. Really, isn't life just about slaying the dragon? I mean,
100%. Yes. I absolutely agreed.
And that's what we're here to talk about today. Kind of, maybe, a little bit. In session 0, one might argue, the most important session in your D&D campaign, and yet it doesn't exist because it's not a number. Is that right, Vince?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to talk all about session 0, why it matters, what the heck this thing is, why, like, there's sort of sometimes controversy around it, and I think that's stupid.
Oh, God,
as really? I think most controversies around role-playing games are stupid, but that's all right.
Yeah, I like to think if a controversy around RPGs and D&D hits my radar, it's a pretty proud nail, right? That it's sticking up pretty hard. And
sure.
Then I look into it and I'm usually like, oh boy, people just they got strong opinions and too much time on their hands. But this one, yes. I did not realize. So hey, we're going to be controversial today, and we didn't even plan on it. So, but before that, let's talk a little bit about our recent sessions. Vince, what do you got?
Oh my God, buddy, I've got a story for you.
Okay.
I am so excited to share the story. Literally, since the moment this happened, I was like, I cannot wait to talk about this on the podcast. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I've got my group. They're in the Shining South in the Forgotten Realms. It's a very nice place. They're heading back. Their long mission of like escorting this guy as he kind of travels around and then waits in places and then they go on adventures. He was sort of the framing device for their adventure because he was like a traveling merchant, but he would stop places for a long time and he'd be like, I don't care what you do. If I'm here and I'm safe, you don't need to be here guarding me. So you can just go do whatever you want.
Cool.
Right.
I like that.
And then he would allow, and then they would go do adventures in the area or whatever. Right. And stuff like that. Okay. Anyways, they were heading back home.
Okay.
This long journey is at an end. We're ready to push them out of the nest. And they go into a bar in a town in Durpar. And they're like, they see these like wild elves, wood elves over in the corner of the bar. They all look dour and sad.
They got
bird shit. And of course,
they got bird shit in their hair.
Yeah, they're kind of like furtive and looking around and seem like sad, but also wary. Yes, exactly. So they go over and talk to him. They're like, what's up? And they're like, well, we need help, but we can't find anybody here to help us. Right. And, classic call to adventure. Right.
Just so happens.
So the players are like, yes, well, it so happens. We're adventurers. Yes, exactly. And so they do what adventurers do and they answer the call. And basically a bunch of their people had been kidnapped and taken to this old temple that had a gate to the abyss in it, and a big demon had come through and then started working with some of the local dark elves to like kidnap people, to kidnap the wild elves, and so on and so on and so on. Okay,
this is a larger issue than there's a fox killing my chickens in the hen house. This is
well, they're like 6th, 7th level now, something like that. Right. So it's time for them to have a real adventure, right? So they don't know. They know there's just a bunch of trolls. So they like prep a bunch of fireballs because the trolls guard the outside. The demons have pressed all the local trolls into service.
Okay.
And they kill all the trolls quite handily. I mean, they kill like 18, 20 trolls. They're just like blowing through these trolls because they've prepped so much fire magic. Which is fine. Like they did their study, they figured it out, they prepped the right stuff. I was like, great. I want them to feel successful here because I know what's coming on the backside.
Yeah,
right?
This isn't the real challenge.
Right. So they kill their way through a ton of these trolls. They're feeling great. They're riding high. And they round the corner as they're in the dungeon to like a pair of rocks. Okay. Or V-Rock, as I like to call them, after the music station in Vice City, in Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Okay,
V-Rock. Yeah. Now, rocks are not pushovers in nearly any edition, but in second edition, they are the real.
Ooh.
Okay. And one of them already has like mirror image going, so he's basically immune to sort of melee nonsense because they keep hitting the images.
Yeah.
Their AC's like -5.
Oy,
I mean,
oy,
it's like these guys are, and they can only be hit by +2 weapons, and 2 people in the group have weapons that qualify for that.
Oh no.
Right. So it's a fight.
Yeah.
It's a significant fight. The PCs end up winning. That's fine. But now they're beat up. They keep pushing forward. They eventually find the prisoners that have been captured.
Mm.
There's more demons guarding, not anything as killer as the Rocks, but still like significant demons that are not jokes, that like further stretch their resources. So now they rescue all the people and they're like, okay, there's more to this dungeon, but we've rescued the people. We got to go.
Okay, that's a
We gotta
sensible
get outta here.
response. Sensible response. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, the tank is empty on healing. Multiple of us are in like single digit hit points. Okay. This is rough.
Mm.
And so they start backing out. But the Vrox had already told the guy who's in charge of this dungeon, which was a Glabberzu.
Oh boy.
Which is a very serious demon.
Yeah. And a pretty decent magic card. Yeah. Go ahead.
Absolutely. that these guys were in here. So they go to get into like the main original room, and he like erupts out of flame, and he's like, "What's up? How come you're stealing my people?"
Hey.
And like, hey, guys, look, this isn't going to fly. We got to talk about this, right? So immediately, because he's a demon and he likes torturing people, he's like, well, I'll tell you what, I could just kill you all. But there's no fun in that. What if we cut a deal? There's no way you're leaving with my elves. Those are my elves. But there's like 7 people in the party, right? So he's like, tell you what, I'll let 4 of you go if you decide which 3 of you stay and become my prisoners.
Oh no. The old pit them against each other.
Correct. Like, he's doing this because he wants to mentally torture them, right? Because it's funny to him.
Right.
And so the PCs are now faced with this thing. Like, maybe they could win this fight. Maybe. But people are probably going to die.
Yeah.
Right? This guy's a house.
Yeah.
And like, maybe they come out of it as the winner, but it is questionable.
Especially with all the resources low, hit points low. Yikes.
Correct. They are like, the tank is... The light is on that says like you need to get gas soon on the dashboard.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Now, so they're like, well, could we run? I was like, well, yeah, probably, but he can probably catch you. You're standing 20 feet away from him and he flies.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe, but I don't know. I was like, some of you will get away. It was my answer. He's not big enough to capture all 7 of you in his arms, right? Like, some of you will get away. And he does have 4 arms, so you got to watch out for that.
Yeah,
but at any rate, okay. So they're like, we got to find some clever way out of this. But they're like, they start talking. The bard starts doing his thing, right? He's like talking to buy time. He's like, all right, look, what if we did 2 of our people and we've got a paladin? What if we left her? She's high value. And he's like, oh, okay, that's a good point.
That is a good point.
Right? So he's like, okay, he's like negotiating with them in good faith, right? And he's like, he keeps needling the paladin at the same time. Like, I see your friends are ready to abandon you. Seems you're worthless after all. Wouldn't be that surprising. Most people hate paladins. They usually annoy the rest of their group. It wouldn't be the first time that their friends that I've seen friends abandon a paladin in my long existence. And all this, right?
Great.
Okay. So then they don't communicate this to these other. What I love about this is they got this all in character. Then the wizard turns to the bard and he's like, what if we gave him like some of our artifacts? And he's like, no. Like he's like, we give him this helm, and he's like, no, we can't do that. It's too dangerous. And then they just keep talking. But then the Glabberz, who's curious, he's like, hold on. Let's go back to this helm thing. What's this artifact that you've got? And he's like, there's no way we could part with this. And so they're both selling this like super hardcore. Okay. There's no way we could give you this helm. And like, they made him ask about it, right? It comes back. So eventually he's like, all right, I'll tell you what. I'll take the paladin and all the artifacts. And then so the bard brings the helm up to him. He takes the helm, and in the bard's hand is like a venom dagger. Okay. And he's like, but you need to make sure she doesn't run. And he's like, it telepathically, because he can talk telepathically, right? He's like, I want to see that you're really committed to this deal. Stab and paralyze your friend. Okay,
Oh,
so I can take
no.
her with me. So the bard's like, okay. And he like sleight of hand fakes it, stabbing her. And he whispers in her ear, like, act paralyzed. And she's like, so then she's like making checks to pretend to be paralyzed. While the demon's like got his hand around her neck and is like scraping his massive claw down the side of her cheek and stuff. And she makes all her checks. She stays paralyzed. And he's like, okay, you guys were on the up and up. You can go ahead. I'm taking her with me. And he's like, and then he puts the helm on and immediately starts crying. Just weeping. Because what the helm does is switch your alignment to the opposite, whatever the opposite alignment that you currently are.
Oh,
They
no.
tricked him into putting this on. So this chaotic, evil Glabberzoo immediately switches to be lawful good and is crushed under the moral weight of all the evil that he has done.
I mean, if this is now a reoccurring character.
Oh, he's reoccurring for sure. This guy is like, yes.
Oh, man. I love it. I love that. I mean, there's so many things in this story. Like, one, whatever his name was, once he is like pitting all the PCs against each other, and that is his whole point, to make them fight each other and just grow to despise each other. He needs to just be known as like big government. All his job is to make us hate each other. That's his job, and he did a great job. And all we got his comeuppance in the final hour. And then he just comes back and he's like, I planted this flower garden, and we're now in a commune, and all these elves, they just
exactly,
they're just living whatever life wherever their own path leads them, and they define their own fortunes and what they desire for purpose in existence. And he's just like the nicest, weirdest.
Yes, he's super nice now. He's like crying for like, and the whole time they come up, they're like hugging him. He's like, it's gonna be okay, man. It's gonna be okay. Like immediately they're all like moved because he's so shocked, and they're like, what about the rest of your people? He's like, well, I don't want to kill them either. I don't want to kill anybody anymore. I can't. So all this like role playing, this weeping demon goes, and he just like gives him all his treasure and stuff, because he's like, you take this. I don't want any of this stuff anymore. This is all stuff I stole from people I killed. I can't use any of this.
Man alive. What? That just came 180 from we're gonna lose 3 of our 4 people, or we're gonna probably all die here, or we're going to feel terrible and have to come up with another way to rescue them, but we'll be down those people. And wow, what an outcome. And now you've got a great reoccurring NPC.
He's like, I got to leave for a little while and think about stuff, right? So he like goes away to think about himself, but he'll come back. Yeah. He'll come back.
Glabberzoo the Good. Yeah, that's his name. I got a little one. Last episode we talked about pets, and it was high on my mind. And in my latest session, sorry, my dog is just snoring like a.
I really can't hear it. It's actually quiet this time.
The last episode and the episode of Trapped Under Plastic podcast was both. We had comments in the sections of. I just realized that rumbling is a dog snoring, and that's him. So if you hear rumbling in the background, it is not the soothing background music of Fireball Gazebo. I guess maybe it is. It is my dog snoring. So
he's like our third co-host. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's just down there. He's got to always be at my feet. So. In our latest episode of our campaign, we were doing this really cool thing of like reoccurring souls, and the souls have come back into us, and kind of that kind of thing, reincarnation of souls through new bodies. And some of those souls are heroes, and that's our situation. And some are villains, and some souls are trapped in the bodies because they're too scary, or that's what the people in charge wants you to believe, that kind of thing. So we did this investigation of a pyramid with of an ancient wizard that actually like had discovered the magics to be able to unlock souls, so to bring people and their souls to life so they can actually live a good life. And we kind of got into his tower after he investigated his pyramid and kind of laid his soul to rest, and his soul went into one of the characters of our group, which unlocked his wizard tower. His wizard tower had been abandoned and unable to be entered for something like 400 years, because only he could. Because
he needed him.
Yes, to open it.
Yes.
And our cleric, who now has a soul in him, just walks up to. There's no front door. Walks up to the wall, and the wall does the Diagon Alley thing where all the bricks start to turn in, right? And we get inside, and you can see like things untouched. We get up to the 3rd floor and we get into this huge room with these giant tanks, and you could tell that there's like some mossy growth and some low levels of water in there. Basically, it's very humid in there, but these were submersion tanks. Think Minority Report, the movie where the people can see the future.
Yeah, sure.
You go in the
precog ladies.
Yes, the recall ladies. That is kind of how you awaken memories and understanding of your soul, your past souls.
Okay.
Which is our XP system level up system in this game. Is you unlock. That's how you level up. Is you unlock memories, unlock ancient powers from your soul. Very cool mechanic. Very streamlined. Is largely untouched. However, in one of these tanks, still has about a foot of water in it, and it's a huge tank. It's probably 4 feet long, couple 3 feet tall, and I see pressed up against the edge of the water line in this murky kind of cloudy oil slick type water, that there is pressed up against it is the huge head of a salamander. And if you know anything about salamanders, they are cute as a button. So my character does what anybody should do. I jumped in the tank to try to get the salamander out. I get inside. I had to make saving throws versus the stagnant, nasty-ass wizard water that this salamander was going into. When I pick up the salamander, I did not realize it at the time. He's like 4.5 feet long. He's huge. So I pick him up just like he's a giant catfish I'm going to take a picture of that I just caught. And and I immediately get a memory flashback. Memory flashback of this salamander, the wizard, doing his research to try to unlock memories of previous lifetimes. And this salamander, in his notes, what we found his notebook later, his memoirs and such, that this salamander is actually like generation 76 of the same salamander family, and he recognizes him and he knows him from his previous lifetimes. And somehow in the memory flashback, the salamander was tiny. He was the size of a salamander. He was like 8 inches long. Something happened in 400 years where this salamander is now 4.5 feet long. I get out of the tank. I got the salamander. I try to talk to the salamander. I gave him a little piece of bread, some rations to be my friend. And he just like sat there and blinked at me. But I think we're going to be able to make this sweet ass wizard tower now that we're the only ones that can get in. Gonna make it to hideout. I mean, this is a prime hideout.
Sure, situation. New base of operations. Right? Absolutely, yes.
So I have a new goal in life, and that is that Sally becomes my best friend. And that,
of course,
because she's got some kind of untapped unlimited power from 76 generations of salamanders and her unnatural growing capabilities, that she's hiding secrets. And
this is like the Duncan, Idaho of salamanders.
Yes, exactly. And here's the thing: if you're a player in a game, and sometimes you need, just like sometimes as a DM, you need to beat your players over the head with information because they're just not grasping what seems obvious to you.
Sure.
Sometimes as a player, you need to beat your intentions over the head of the DM of what your character is now inspired by. And he's like, my guy is interested in creation. He's interested in how you can turn illusions into something real. And this thing has got to have the keys to it unlocked somewhere inside of it. This salamander holds all the arcane secrets. Why did it live so long? Why is it so huge? What happens when the salamanders live 76 generations as all the memories? All these things will be mine. They are the key to my arcane future. And so I let the DM know that. My character, he knows that. So Sally, I just left her in the pond. She got a new nice little pond. She got moss to live on. I gave her some crackers. She's my friend. So that's my story.
There you go. Well, good luck with your new pet. That's awesome.
Yes.
I love it.
We got some news. We got some cool stuff to talk about here. Let's bring all the Gazebo boys up to date on the new newsy news in the world of RPGs.
Let's do it. So first off, Kobold Press is releasing Dungeons Deep, which is like 16 ready-to-use dungeons, like fully detailed dungeons with like monsters and stuff like that, though it doesn't necessarily, like the stats are left a bit amorphous because you can use them. It's meant to be used with lots of different games like Tales of the Valiant or with D&D 5e and stuff like that. So you can use it kind of in any game, right, is the idea. And they also come automatically with level settings. So in other words, like each of the dungeons has a low level setting, a medium level setting, and a high level setting, if that makes sense. And so then it'll vary like the number of monsters or the type of them, or you use a higher level version of a thing, right? So like if you're in the low level version, it's some skeletons. If you're in this, it's ghouls, or if you're in this, it's mummy or something. You get the point, right?
Right.
Like you get the general idea. So yeah, I just thought it was cool. The idea is sort of like quasi system agnostic, ready to go dungeons, so that way you can just kind of drop into your campaign.
Oftentimes, what really makes a dungeon unique, the locales, the puzzles, the traps, the whatever, just the feel of the environment and all that is level agnostic. And if you have a great idea and you have a cool setting and you have these interesting aspects to it and all that work has been done, it feels like oftentimes that's what sits, the parchment decays on our shelves because the stars didn't align of we running and we needed this kind of a dungeon or this kind of a thing for the levels. And just like, this really kind of solves a lot of those issues. And it seems kind of obvious, but I love that it's a real thing now.
Yeah, and it's really cool. Exactly what it says. It's focused on having like each of the dungeons feeling really different. It's not just like 16, caves and like that's it. That's what. No, it's like they're very sort of, each of them they run the gamut from things you'd expect, like goblins that overtook dwarven mines, to like extremely fantastical, like floating obelisks with sort of riven tunnels and stuff in them and stuff like that. So it's just, there's a lot to it, so that way you have kind of a wide panoply of settings and traps and things of that nature in the experience. So I thought that was cool.
Okay. All right. I have one today too. I will just bring it up quickly because I'd sent you a link to this. Somehow my algorithm is now like balls deep with RPG stuff, and this one came across my fucking Facebook feed, and I started digging, and it looks amazing, and it's called Fabula Ultima. I'm curious if any Gazebo boys have ever heard of this game, if there's a prior edition that they've played or they're aware of it. And this is a JRPG style RPG. And I got to see some like the monster stat blocks and some of the key talking points. It's an award-winning game. I guess I don't know what kind of awards, but there was a whole list of awards this game has won.
Sure.
The thing that stood out to me is that it uses an MP system or mana point system. You have a
very common, especially in JRPG type stuff.
Exactly. Yes. And like looking at the monster sheets and like the vulnerabilities, resistances, kinds of things in it, feels kind of similar to a Pokemon or a Final Fantasy, where there are like something like 6 or 8 elements in the game, and most things have an element, not most things, but a lot of things have an elemental connection. And like, so this monster is weak to fire and wind, and it's strong versus poison and cold and that kind of thing, and their attacks use those. Monsters have MP as well, that they're unique attacks that aren't just spells on a fucking spell list, use their MP as well. Have you ever played a game with an MP system? Or what are your thoughts on that?
It's not my sort of preferred style. It sort of gamifies a thing that I don't, in an abstract way, that I'm not super into. But that being said, I also don't hate it. I think it has a lot to do with implementation. So like, I don't think you've watched Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, which is like a really great anime. But like, clearly if you were to gamify that, there would be mana in it, because like that, they talk about it all the time, of like, it's a thing in the world. The wizards can all see each other's mana and sort of spell power, and it's a way that they identify who's more powerful than them, because it like, the more powerful you are, the more it like radiates off of you that this is the well of power you have to draw on, right? And it becomes a whole plot point because Frieren looks really weak, and that's because she spent her entire life like figuring out how to hide her mana, so she tricks everybody, so everybody underestimates her.
She's got a natural 20 on her magic deception at all times.
Yeah, and so like, it's neat because they worked it into the world. I like it more when it's actually like something tangible in the world like that, that people can put their hands on. If it's too abstracted, I'm less interested, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I always wondered why just the default system was, D&D's original slot system. I get it that it's more simplistic, but it leaves a lot of creativity, management, resource use in a way that in a lot of ways feels much more elegant and streamlined to me. You don't have you can get rid of cantrips entirely. I can go a session without every time anybody takes 4 steps, cleric says guidance, 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 guidance. Like
Sure.
you get this bullshit that just happens that you can't avoid in some way or another. That if I want to cast 42 magic missiles today, I can cast 42 magic missile spells today. But that was going to take
Sure.
all my MP to do that. Or I know that fireball is going to cost me 90 MP. My pool is 200, so I have to resource manage and that kind of a thing. Like I like that side of it, that it allows you some more customization of how you use your resource. Again, there's certainly a potential for the downside of kind of analysis paralysis of like choosing the wrong thing, and now I'm hosed because whatever. Whereas I always knew I had one slot for these level 2 spells or this fireball or whatever.
This feels like a show in and of itself.
Yeah, it
Magic
does.
Systems.
Yeah, it
Magic
does.
Systems is a show.
All right.
Yeah.
So I did want to put that out there, see if the Gazebo boys are pumped. It's coming to Kickstarter very soon. I signed up my email on there for them to notify me. And so I am going to back this game because I'm a sucker because it has these sick ass like collector's edition hardcover versions. So I'm in for it. I'm curious to see if anybody else is. Vince, what else you got for news?
We'll hit these two up fairly quickly because they're both just small news items, but they're interesting in what they sort of say. So first of all, I don't know if you ever played this adventure path, but Abomination Vaults. It's an adventure path from Paizo. Very, very famous one from what I understand.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's fine. It's coming to, like, they kind of announced this back at Gen Con. I had missed it, but I just saw it, like, because now I guess it's in there. But it's coming to D&D Beyond for 5th edition. So they actually migrated this whole adventure path from Pathfinder over into 5th edition, so people can play it in D&D Beyond. I thought that was interesting, just because like these two are theoretically competitors. But it's fascinating to see them working together like that. So
I think that they should just rename it Abomination Vaults for Babies.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed anything or kept the adventure. From what I understand, they more or less left it the same, just put it over the new mechanics. So
yeah,
maybe I thought that was interesting.
I think that is really interesting and kind of weird. And that we have a conversation for maybe a future episode where I can talk where the walls are crumbling on D&D 2024 around our party already. So
sure.
And that's why I made this light. It was just a joke, people, for babies. It's true. Go ahead.
The walls will come down quickly enough. It's what happens. Yeah. All right. The other one, speaking of D&D, John Haidt, who is the current sort of president of Wizards, made a comment that he wants a new D&D MMO, which I thought was fascinating. Did you ever play Dungeons & Dragons Online?
No. It was in the height of when I was full-fledged addicted to far superior games. So I did not.
Gotcha. Well, I played the heck out of it.
Okay.
As I played the heck out of most MMOs.
Yeah.
So like I had a very high level rogue and stuff like that. We did all sorts of things. Like I've played a lot of that game. I could still navigate my way through many of those dungeons just off memory alone, right? But anyways, I thought it was one of the things that was interesting in the interview was, I mean, DDO is still around, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Still active. I don't know what its current average player count looks like. I assume not high.
There are literally dozens of us. Yes.
Well, I mean, I did love that they picked Ebron for the setting, which is great. Truly one of my favorite D&D worlds. But at any rate, he said we want to reimagine what an MMO would really look like, though, because he's like, I think if you just did another one on the sort of EverQuest or World of Warcraft or UO model, and he named a bunch of different things, right? That the sort of early period that set the tone for what MMOs play like. He's like, that's not a winner right now. I think that's I think that's correct, by the by.
You make it so I mean, on the alternate side, it's a ugly cash grab Final Fantasy version of a game that doesn't feel true to it. D&D either. I don't know. The problem is yes, a classic MMO.
I think he meant more the style of like how the game plays, not the art or themes or stuff like that.
No, I'm not talking about that either. I think that like the issue is the modern MMOs are about as antisocial of a social game you could possibly experience, is by popping into a thing and randomly being popped with a bunch of people, or you're not required to interact with anyone. Believe me, I've tried Final Fantasy, I've tried New WoW, I've tried all these new ones trying to capture that magic back. And also, I'm an old school MMO player. I think you would probably pop into those games too, and you're like, this isn't this isn't an MMO at all. Like it's a different kind of totally different experience. But I think if they had that community, that having that feeling of relying on each other through adventurers guilds and through that kind of a thing, like there's a world there that it's pretty freaking amazing. But the lift for modern MMOs in terms of team size, in terms of resources, in terms of timeline to get off the ground, he can say that all he wants. I don't think he's done the research and what that actually is going to look like.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like he's saying it was coming. He's saying there's a thing he'd like to do.
Sure.
So God knows it's a long way off.
Right. I'd like a solid gold toilet seat, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. So
sure.
But hey, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they make it, because if they announce it, we're gonna start our own guild. You and I, we're gonna the Gazeboids, obviously, is the name of our guild.
Obviously,
all you are welcome to join us, and we can slay the dragon together in a 5-man group or a 40-man raid, whichever, based on the content. You know.
Absolutely,
we'll do it.
I'm in.
Oh yeah. That's it. We're gonna we have devolved to the 20-year-old version of ourselves like that.
Yeah, I would argue, by the way, if I was going to give him advice, it would be go back to the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like where we went wrong was abandoning the good lessons that things like Ultima Online had in it, like its alignment system and the way it was very sandboxy and stuff like that.
Right.
I think you don't need the amazing graphics. I think you do need the amazing experience to create for yourself in the world. That's what I think actually matters.
Yeah. That feeling of adventure and exploring, and the fear of you're not just safe anywhere you run because you're on the back of a chocobo and you can just get from A to B whenever you want. You can teleport everywhere. Like that feeling of adventure, and needing to be with others, to rely on others, and to have it feel like a true community is so core to an MMO, which I think they've gotten away from. That's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother kind of podcast. It is old man MMO podcast, the podcast. But
the last thing I want to say, John, is as we transition, I just want to occasionally we talk about new books we got.
Oh boy.
Just real quick before we section over to the thing. I've picked up a bunch of new second edition stuff lately, but this is one of my favorites. I picked up The Savage Frontier. This is all about kind of the Northlands and stuff like that across the realms. It's just a really good book. Like it defines a lot of the stuff. It was drawn on a lot of the stuff that came out of the early Dritz books. Okay. So like Icewind Dale and 10 Towns and all of these places, Bryn Shandir and like those kind of things. Like if you're a fan of any of the Dritz books, this was such a wonderful capture. The author who put this together talks about all the sources that they rely on when they map this out. And certainly like those novels were a big part of it. And it's just a really great, wonderful, detailed, adventure-filled, kind of area of the Forgotten Realms, which is like a lot of cool characters and places and dungeons and stuff like that. So I've been reading through it and just really enjoying it because it does remind me back to reading those books.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, oh yeah, I loved all these. I remember these places, those were cool.
And as always, amazing cover art. It makes me want to open that book and dig into like just the nitty gritty that is in there. That you can.
Yeah, man, look at this band of weirdos.
Right?
They got guys on a sleigh over here. He's like a giant or something. He's like a little hill giant or an ogre or something. We got a normal human guy here, some kind of goblin. Just a bunch of weirdos making their way in the world together, and you love to see it.
Yeah. I thought I can already think of all the great stories and adventures that they've.
That guy's dead.
He's
a skeleton.
He didn't make it.
Yeah.
He's got a new story to tell now. In the afterlife.
I love pictures that are just groups of weirdos hanging out together. It's great.
It's just like an awkward photo shoot, and you're like, oh, who's these weirdos? And like, let's just tag.
And you might say to yourself, Vince, I like group pictures of groups of weirdos too. How do I get my own group of weirdos together to play in my next game? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that is exactly what you can help define in Session Zero, the main topic of our show today.
Look at that smooth transition, just like we planned it. Okay, Session Zero.
The segue.
Session Zero. This is a relatively new concept, Vince. Can we explain, like at a high level, what is it? What's the point of it?
Okay, so this has been. I push back on that only slightly. Okay. This is a new concept in name.
Yeah.
But it is definitely not a new concept in execution.
Correct.
People have been doing this kind of thing for as long as gaming has, like the RPGs have existed. They just didn't call it that. Someone gave it a name. In our normal world where you and I work, people have been doing Grisé painting for a long time, but then someone called it Slap Shop, and suddenly it was a whole new world.
It's a whole new world, just like Little Mermaid told us. Yep.
Right. So session 0 is kind of the slap shop of this, if you ask me. But at any rate,
that's Aladdin. Why did I say Little Mermaid? That's Aladdin. It's a whole new world.
It's all good.
I was so close.
Okay. I am about to start a Calimport game. So Aladdin's on the brain.
Yeah.
Anyways, what is this thing? Okay. Session 0 is effectively before you all start the game, whether it be digital or in person, it doesn't matter. Everybody gets together and you have a session, right? Of some amount of time. Could be like an hour, could be the whole session. It was some amount of time that you dedicate to. Usually you do it hopefully before you've made characters.
Yeah.
Like
making characters is the part of it.
This should be like the very first thing you do. And in there, you're going to have a collaborative conversation about the type of game you want, the themes you want to cover, the world that it's going to be set in, the types of things you want to see, whether the types of things the DM wants to run, the type of things you might want as players, what you're hoping to explore, what you're hoping to experience, and also potentially working together to like create your character. We'll dive into each of these, but like working together to inform all of your character ideas, your concepts, what kind of group, what classes should everybody be playing, what kind of species or races should everybody be, right? How's this group going to work together? How can we interlock our background stories? And then the last part, and the part that always gets focused on, the controversial part for this, which is not, it's stupid. It's stupid. Okay. Is you can also have discussions about like just things you'd rather stay away from.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Like I had like someone in your group has like real serious arachnophobia or something. I'd rather if could we not fight spiders and stuff in this game?
Right.
Okay. Or something like that or whatever. Like obviously there are way more serious topics and concepts that you may want to avoid.
Yep.
I'm using kind of the throwaway jokey one, but obviously there could be much more serious things.
Yep.
That people have because their experiences. And so you just have that conversation. It just gets everybody on the same page, collaborating, working together from the jump.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. It is. I like to think of at its best, or what it's trying to achieve is to have the players around the table gain the excitement of the what's possible and what could be that the DM has, which led them to the story they want to tell.
That's right.
So to me, what I think is so important in this is at the very beginning, the very first thing, whenever I've done these, is I have a 1-paragraph elevator pitch of here is the story to be told. Here's the world that we're experiencing, right? And so let's see if I come up with a random, maybe cliche one off the top of my head.
Well, do you mind if I do one? I can give you a real one.
Got one?
We literally just did a session 0.
Okay. Give me the elevator pitch. I don't want 17 minutes on this. Sell me quick.
You're not gonna no elevator pitch or no long rant. Here we go. The session 0 we just had started with my buddy saying, I want to run a Calimport game based on Miami Vice.
Okay.
It's called Midnight Heat. And great. And you all are going to be in Calimport. You can be locals or from other places, but you're here now in this city and you're going to get involved in the politics, the tumult, and the dark sort of political leadership of this city. Like it will be a political game, sort of fighting against it and struggling. Like it'll be like a Chinatown type game, like Miami Vice, dealing with, these sorts of corrupt government, criminals everywhere. You're in the middle.
You got stuck in the middle. Just a bunch of unfortunates that were pulled together. Never thought they had any chance. Right? I get it.
And that was it. That was the pitch.
Right. Now, usually I would say if I was giving that pitch, I would make clear what's unique about Calimport and what do I mean by this setting and what do I mean by Miami Vice, that feel, right? Where you're talking about, that you are investigators. You're getting pinched from all sides by restrictions, by evildoers, and coming from all directions. Those that you must trust, those that you can't trust, but you rely upon these people to try to do good in the world that you're in. And you wear sweet sport coats. I think that's also,
of course, lots of sweet sport coats, lots of Ferraris. Yeah.
And shoulder pads in all those sport coats. So
100%.
That's
Roll up them sleeves, pop them,
right,
pop them up.
So once that like, that elevator pitch of here's the world we're in, here's the weird things that are going to go on, immediately what your goal is for that, if you are making your own campaign or the world that you want to play in, is that you see the players smile and you see their wheels starting to turn. And they're like, okay, right. I can envision. Because you want to start that conversation right after that with them talking to each other, them talking to you, them asking you questions, right? Like, is there a weird magic system? Is there any kind of things like you want to be able to answer obvious questions that don't leak too much of your story, or sometimes even they do, and they're like, "Well, what? Okay, and now I gotta. Oh man, well, I definitely want to be, an artificer that that deals in the
sure,
that's this and that kind of a thing, right? Because you want them to know, like, oh, what's the major export in the city right now? What are the things that is, the kinds of jobs that people have, and like what are the different kind of factions, the basic understanding that any character that lived in that city would know, and like help them pull together ideas. Because the more we can paint a very clear picture of an exciting world and story that we're going to tell together, the more they can think of an exciting character to play that has nothing to do with class, that has nothing to do with system we're playing, that has nothing to do with the mechanics of the game. Because to me, the most important thing about session 0 is that your players leave with a fun character that they'll be able to play at the table, and that has nothing to do with mechanics. And that's such a big thing here.
Or at least ideas, right? Exactly. Like even if they don't have, maybe they walk away with like 3 ideas of potential characters. That's a best case scenario, right? Because you can, and that's exactly what happened. We all started talking about different stuff. So a thing about Calimport in the Forgotten Realms, at least when we're playing, set in like 1372 by Dale Reckoning, or DR if you prefer, is like it's a pretty horrible place.
Okay, that's good. That's a good detail to know. This is not like height of the cocaine Miami days right now,
Yeah, well, like there's a lot of wealth inequality. Okay, that kind of thing. So I guess that's very sort of like
hey, well, 1980s Miami. A fantasy game here, Vince.
Yeah. I mean, like there's just like to be very real about it, there's a lot of slavery in the city.
Sure.
Like a ton of it. It is the engine that keeps that city running. Right? Like in a grotesque way, right? And so right away, that should give you, as a bunch of PCs, we're all like, well, clearly we're not on board with that. So we're going to be people who oppose the system.
Right.
Right. And that then immediately sets you into like this band of characters. Right. So we had people talking about like, well, maybe I could play like a smuggler or something like that. Right. Yeah. Who's like trying to get people out of the city or get goods into the city or stuff like that. Okay. And so on and so forth. Right. A pirate who raids their ships and occasionally will like sneakily operates out of the city or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So those ideas just kind of roll out of that. Like you get the basics of what's going on in the city, and that then immediately starts prompting everybody as we talk back and forth. And like one of my friends wanted to play like a madam.
Okay. Well,
who runs like a brothel.
Sure.
But is using that to sneakily spy. Like they're a spy. They gather information to then like blackmail people and like get people out. Like it's a stop on the sort of Underground Railroad to get people out of the city and stuff like that, right? It's all a cover type of thing.
My brain immediately went to this Underground Railroad thing. It's like, here's how you get, people that are enslaved or whatever off the streets and out of the city, and then you can make excuses and whatever, that kind of thing. Like there's so much great stuff there. And I really like that what this does is it allows everyone's own imagination to immediately go different places, because all our brains work differently. It's one of the joys of the world that we live in, is that we don't all think the same, and we just get such a wide variety. And the more that you can have these conversations comfortably, as the excitement is high, kind of the more invested your players are in the world, in the character ideas they have, in the kind of group they're pulling together, before you've ever sat down and you hear the opening monologue of session 1. And you're getting investment. Investment is so important in an RPG game, especially if you're looking for a long-term campaign. And if you can get them hooked it's a lot easier than trying to build it up from square one and earning that slowly over time at the actual sessions. So I think that's a pretty big one.
And what was nice about this was it also just like logistically. So people were, when they're just presented with story, you're forced to answer in story.
Yeah.
Right. And some people might say, like, well, I'd kind of like to be a fighter type who does this sort of thing. But you're still, that's fine. Like, that's not picking a class. You're just saying, I want to be like I want to be somebody who fights, or like, maybe that turns into a paladin or a ranger or a fighter or a whatever.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter. But the point is that like what the actual important part of that framing was who like outwardly is fighting against the system, right? Or like tries to like attacks like caravan, like enslaved caravans coming in out of the wilderness or something.
Right.
Like I'm a raider.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like you've caught, like, yes, there was some mention of a class in there, but that's irrelevant, right? Because that could manifest in 10 different ways. The part of your hook that was cool was you settled on the way you fit into the society.
Yes. And you get more brains to bounce ideas off of around the table when you throw something across the bow of like, I'm kind of feeling like I want to be a rough and tumble guy, a fightery type.
Right.
I'm going to wield steel, right? That's what I want to do. And people are like, well,
exactly.
I mean, I need the head of my bouncers at my house of ill repute. Or like,
and this literally happened as in our discussion. Yes, somebody else was like, "Cool, I wanted to play this character. Maybe I can work for you or something like that." Right?
And that's like not always in session zeros. And you alluded to it a little bit earlier. Do you walk away with everyone having their character 100% defined, or 90 or 80% defined? But sometimes, if that's the direction it goes in your time around that session zero table, do not fight it. If that's what excites players, especially if there's a connection between players that they kind of like ping pong off each other, their excitement and how their characters are going to work together, or how it would make sense that these kind of puzzle pieces fit together, like just let that happen. Like let it go, because that's what builds that excitement. And you getting other ideas from other players may end up getting you something that like I would have never thought of that myself, but that idea really resonates with me. Or be like, I want to be the dude that wields steel. I now have like 4 or 5 options after this conversation today, and I'm going to kind of narrow down and think on it for a couple days and then kind of figure this out where I want to go with it. But a big part of this too is like the DM gets to like sprinkle in, whether it's through questions or more often than not, and be like, oh, that's great you brought that up, because there is actually this faction within the world and within the city, and like, and here's your major players and stuff, and like all like obviously known information, or if you went that way, your characters will understand that information, so you can kind of make more informed decisions from the very get-go on what you want to do. And the DM gets to be a part of this conversation. It's one of the really fun parts about session zero is it's really, when done, in my opinion, done its best, the DM is not at the other side of the screen. This is the one session where it's just a big brainstorming session, and the veil is completely down, right? It's like, I'm with you. I want your guys' story and your characters and your everything as much as you do in this, So interacting and supporting them and giving them ideas and that kind of thing. And again, just like a DM should never just say no. You're not saying no to any of these ideas here. You're saying, okay, here's a cool take.
You're like, well,
that.
maybe you can do this. Hey, maybe you work with that person. They're almost like helping, building, yes-anding. It's that kind of a thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of important input and output for the GM in this session, right? Their output can be things like, so for example, they can just set down the basic logistics of the game.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is like, this is how we're going to generate stats. This is what level you're going to start at. This is blah, 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 blah. Right? Like there's always just a bunch of stuff. If you're not literally just starting at level 1 and the answer is we are literally doing the exact standard way that the characters are generated out of the book or something, right? There's usually, for example, like this game is starting at relatively high level. Like we're meant to be people who already have established something. So this game is like, we're starting at like 10th level.
Okay, yeah. So you are at a position of power in the city, whichever niche you fit into.
Right. And that's like really important information for us to have
as
we're generating our backstory and talking to each other, because when you're that, as opposed to first level characters or something, we can do stuff like, okay, we have some amount of political power of our own, or followers, or blah 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 blah, right? Like we can have stake in this in a bigger way because of where we occupy. So that shapes some of your story. So that's just output, right? The GM can lay down those basic facts. This is how you're going to do this stuff.
Right. Yeah. You are not Gavroche the street rat. You are Jean Valjean based on level. Right.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
So that is a really important thing too. Yeah. That it kind of skimmed over is what level are we starting at, and how does that affect, one, the story we're telling, two, how quickly you're hitting the ground running, three, what connections, what power do you already wield in your niche in society or in the world as a whole, if it's not really a city-based thing. What kind of access to information do you have that you're much more well-informed, but based on, level and this kind of thing too, like that can really matter.
There could be a very extreme version of this. When we started the Icewind Dale campaign, like Tale of the Frost Maiden or whatever, I don't know what it is. We ran that book campaign, which is not very good, but it's unfortunately. Sorry if you wrote that one. Yeah. But like when we did our session 0 for it, we all kind of decided we didn't want to be from this boring, frozen, depressing place. Only like 2 people had ideas from there. The rest of us, the other 5 of us, all had like crazier ideas. Okay. And so we said, all right, what if, and like, so this just came, this didn't happen suddenly. This evolved out of the conversation. We all decided, what if we were all on a Spelljammer? Okay. And it crashed. And that's how us 5 weirdos, we were all shipmates on the ship. It crashed into the frozen north, and we get found by the other 2 players who wanted to play locals.
Yeah.
Right. And then like some sub goal for the 5 of us is fixing our ship over the course of the campaign.
Yeah. Right.
And it, like, again, it didn't, and the GM, who had no intention of having anybody from Spelljammer in this game, right, was like, oh, it sounds like a really fun idea, and just like helped us build on it. It didn't materially change anything except that we were all space weirdos, right?
Space weirdos that have been looking for the energy core this entire time.
Right. But it kind of evolved naturally out of the character ideas that everyone had. So it can sometimes take interesting directions, and that's the input for the GM.
Yeah.
Right? Because in my mind, the way I think in product management, my normal daily job, we often talk about like, so when you plan out a product, you plan in ice, slush, water, proximity, and time. Okay. In other words, how solid is your plan? What you're about to do next needs to be ice. It's firm. You know what you're going to do. You know a lot about it, right? What comes after that is like slush. You have a decent idea. You got some of it mapped out, but you don't have all the details fleshed out. What's beyond that on the horizon is water. You have like a general concept at best, right? I think that's how most GMs run campaigns. Absolutely. If you're not running something literally out of a book, and sometimes even if you are, by the way, you know, like where you want to start and what your kind of initial arcs are going to be. Then you go to slush, and then like, you know, beyond that, it's all just water. Like, I don't know, we're going to kill a wizard or something, you know, like whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think you can take the input of what the players are saying they want to do. Right. Of like, this is the kind of, I want to play somebody who's like investigating ancient mysteries. Oh, cool. I am from an ancient culture that's trying to find the truth of like what happened to like what happened to cause Sparket's downfall or something. Neat. Okay, cool. And so like the GM's listening to this and going, okay, I need to throw in some ancient aliens mystery stuff and so on.
Yeah. We've got to be the pyramids and some Sam Squanches in there in order for us to hit this. Yeah, I think, and you're kind of leaning into something that I think is really important, that it's kind of, I've learned over the years that has become one of the best aspects or the most important aspects of this, both for me as a player and as a DM, is walking away from session 0. You have a block of time. And I think half of the value of session 0 is the luxury of that block of time before session 1. I don't think you get maximum value or anywhere near it if your session 0 is also, as soon as we do this, then we start session 1 with no block of time, right?
No, yeah, I agree. There needs to be Yeah, I agree. There should be distance.
Yes.
You should do your set. Like, let's say you're currently playing a game, okay,
Uh-huh.
but you know that game has like 8 sessions left if you play weekly or something, so 2 months,
Right.
right? That's the appropriate time to do session 0.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
For the next game.
Yeah, and but you have to be careful, because if your idea is too good, like your current campaign, they're gonna be like, let's just fucking wrap this up, guys. Like, I want to play, wreck spaceship Han Solo on Frozen, Frozen
Sure.
Fantasyland. That's what I want to play, right? So you have to be careful a little bit, be wary of that. But one of the big things why I think you give yourself that block of time, and I agree, anywhere from 1 week, but ideally it's more like 1 month, maybe 2 months.
Yeah.
Is that
I think 1 to 2 months is my sweet spot. Yeah,
Yep.
that gives you enough time.
I agree. Is that now you have takeaways. You typically are going to have homework here. It's the funnest kind of homework. When you're the players, you're walking home with, okay, I got these really cool ideas. I may be 90% sure what my character is going to be. I might be already filling out the character sheet, or I might be on the other side where it's like, I got a half dozen ideas, but all of them seem cool. Let me sleep on it a while. Let me rethink about things.
Yes.
Let me have conversations with the other players.
Start reading, grabbing books, looking at some lore, thinking about what idea could fit well. Where can I build on these? Yes.
Let it rise naturally to the top, the idea that resonates with you most. There is no wrong or right idea, but there's which one excites you the most, and which one can you foresee being able to play at the table that gives a unique perspective on how they see the world and how they interact with the world. That doesn't mean space weirdos necessarily. It can mean space weirdos, but it can also just mean like that you just have a really unique take, or just a really interesting your job or your career, or how that they interact with the world. It can be so unique or different, or it can be boring, but you have just the wildest personality that fits within that world and that kind of setting. That's great too. So you do this. You define, you interact. And I think a big part of this is that it allows for conversations to continue to happen between you and the other players, you and the DM, until all those things kind of get to basically finalized. And you say, this is what I'm going to build. This is who I'm going to be. This is the class. Here's my character sheet. And, is there anything off limits or anything you need me to know? That kind of a thing, right? Before you've totally invested, and I'm for sure I'm going to do this spell. Well, we're not going to use.
Yeah, because it might be like, okay, the GM could show up and say like, look, we're going to do this game. It's set in this place, and it's going to be like super classic fantasy. So I'd really love it if everybody was like we're doing a Lord of the Rings style game, right?
Yep.
So I want everybody to be like human, elf, dwarf, halfling. Like, those are your choices, right? Because we're doing this like Tolkien-esque inspired game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like that's an important guideline to put down. And here's where it's set and all that stuff. Okay, you can build on that. Restriction can breed creativity, and you find those restrictions here.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And one of the things that I've found that really kicks this off is in this in-between time between session 0 and session 1. What I have done now is I have a scheduled one-on-one meeting with each of the players before session 1 starts. And usually this is just like a video call. Sometimes if we have also done it, it's like I take them to lunch. You're like, hey, let's have lunch.
Sure.
And let us chat, because I want to learn why they came to the decision they came to. I want them to tell me about their character. I want to take notes, and I want to work with them about what are their motivations, and have them, figure out the things that their characters know. And so I, as the game master, feel really comfortable in knowing who your character is, so I can start utilizing that in the early portions of the campaign.
Yes.
I want to get your character, jumping in with both feet from the beginning. And in order to do that, I really need to know who you are. And so I find those one-on-one meetings, you're kind of piggybacking off of the excitement and the energy from session 0. So it's a good bridge, right? To go from 0 to 1.
Now, that's why I've never liked the name session 0, because that makes it sound like it's a literally one and done thing. Like you stop, when really it's the kickoff.
Yeah.
To a process.
It's the preseason, right? You got to get your preseason practice games in, and then that just involves you getting your practice in on who you're going to be. I like to give them here's a little snippet, right? Here's a little interesting thing about your character. Here's a weird little trinket that they have. Some things they know about, some things you don't really know about, some things they'll learn about as the first couple sessions unfold as to why you own this weird little jade box that has a keyhole, but you have no key. Like those kinds of things you can build in, and you get them really interested, and you can plant seeds that you can touch back on later. And it gives you a kickstart as a GM, because I find once you get knee deep into a campaign and the sessions are coming and they don't stop coming, hit the ground running, then it can be tough. You can find yourself behind, but if you've done this forward work, you can kind of lean on that to get the road smooth, and get yourself into third gear, and then you give yourself some breathing room to piggyback on that later. But if you start it before session 1, you give yourself a lot of a runway before you've got to like start bringing in brand new things, because those brand new things should be happening based off of what the characters do in the world, just like you said, ice, slush, water,
right.
We're keeping that water fluid.
One of the things you can do out of this is like, you can have artifacts that come out of this, but I don't mean like magical items in D&D. I just mean like physical representations of stuff. Because one of the things you can do is by working with everybody, by listening through session 0 and working with them on their characters, by the time session 1 starts, you have a little, like you can have a single sheet of paper or whatever, could be digital, written down of like player, character name, sentence description, 5 bullet points of things you think would be cool to do with them, right? This was a cool NPC they met. This is a thing they want to accomplish. This is the type of thing they want to experience. This is the type of thing they want to explore, and so on.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of simple bullet points. And that just lets you then have that as an easy reference over the campaign. So as you're working on your adventures or whatever, it's really easy to just spice that up. Oh, hey, this person was really interested in ancient forgotten texts and languages. Okay, cool. In this dungeon, I'm going to sprinkle in a little few ancient books in this cool language they'll get to decode. That's going to be a big moment for them. And I knew that because of the conversation that came out of session 0 and talking to them before we got to session 1.
Yeah.
Right. And now I've just got this cheat sheet to make them think I'm the greatest DM ever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what this is.
Yeah. You made your life so much easier, and you as a player, because it's important that you have a GM that's willing to do this, or if you're typically a player and you've got a GM with a new campaign coming up, or this, that, and the other, one, direct them to this podcast, obviously, and specifically this episode, so they can kind of get a feel for what you're talking about if this is not something that your group usually does. But as a player, it allows me to see how I can be best ready for the campaign and really understand my character. And I feel rewarded in game for those interactions and that sharing, because it's going to come back around really, really well. That's really, really nice. One thing I will offer as a suggestion is that I now use in pretty much all of my session 0s, and it evolves over time. But if you're brand new, there's a game called Kids on Bikes. And on Kids on Bikes, it's meant to be a quick start kind of way to build relationships. And there's like these tables where you have questions that you ask the players about each other. Like, tell me a time when Vince let your character down, but you haven't really told him about it. Right? There's a bunch of these really amazing relationship kinds of questions.
Yeah, like icebreaker type prompts.
Right?
Yes.
And so you really, once they've got a foundation of like, who is their character in this world, and what, who are they? What are their motivations? What is their purpose? What is their career? That kind of thing. Then get them to interact with, whether it's, other factions in the world, whether it's specific important NPCs in the world, or the other PCs. If you can start to build that, sometimes it's an easy way for you to get this kind of session 0 important stuff off the road much quicker. And you don't need to feel like I need to ask all the right questions and lead this conversation with all the right details, or I'm just going to have wasted this session 0. So there are great examples out there. I think there's like free versions of the Kids on Bikes, which is a tabletop RPG. If you guys aren't familiar with that, probably are. It's an amazing freaking game. My favorite con game to run at cons.
And it has a bunch of spin-offs now too.
Yeah. We got some other ones. I'm sorry, my dog is snoring actually very loud. So yeah, that's a good thing that I found just from running Kids on Bikes, and I just like, oh my gosh, yeah, I need to use this in our regular D&D campaigns, and it's been great to do that. The final thing I wanted to talk about on this topic today My brain completely blanked on it. Oh, okay, I got it back. Because you talked.
You got it back.
We're back. You talked about broken down spaceship that crash landed.
Yeah.
That's a really good example of one of two situations you're going to find yourself in the preseason between session 0 and session 1. And this always happens in the in-between. And that is either it's a full conversation between all players and the GM on how and why are you together, or that is not something because you're so disparate in characters, and that is just fine too. That gives the GM the time to pull together the situation that is a dramatic, interesting, exciting situation. That is our opening scene of the movie that put the players all in this interesting circumstance that they are now together. You think about the Dragonlance Chronicles scene where they all came back to the inn, and then
last home,
right, and then they're like, oh, shit hits the fan, and there's these draconoids. I can't remember what they're called.
Yes,
and a fight happens, and some of them were together, and they were old adventuring parties. But Tifa's there as well.
That's where they first find out that the swords get stuck in them.
Yeah.
And Tifa joined, or that's not her name.
I'm real close.
Whatever.
Tifa's from Final Fantasy. Tila.
It is, yes.
No, that's Master of the Universe. So close.
That's Master of the Universe.
I'm never going to remember.
Popular name.
Never going to remember her name.
At any rate, yes, the point, I agree with you. That's such a good opening scene, right? Because that feels like that group feels like somebody who had an awesome session 0.
Yes.
It really does.
Right.
Because they had intertwined backstories, but not all together.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like
we don't know their
group
whole
doing
backstory.
all the same thing all the time.
Yes.
And then we were gone, and then we're back together. No, they have interlapping, right, or overlapping backstories.
And you get to hint at these mysterious, crazy things that they did in the in-between times. That that's why they got this crazy scar, and that's why Sturm has his armor and all that kinds of things. All these weird things happened in the in between, but they have a history. They know each other. They rely on each other, and to me, that's a big part of this preseason. Is why do they trust each other? Why do they choose to take up arms together? And I find, in general, if the characters are really loose in why they're together, it can have a bumpy road. There should be a reason why. And it doesn't have to be we grew up together and since we were little kids, or he's my cousin. And it doesn't have to be so tightly knit by proximity and blood, but it needs to be a real strong reason why that they're together. Because I find that when you do that, you have a lot easier situations where they will be on each other's side. And yes, arguments or butting of heads will happen. That's often the players. But you'll find that that's softened when the characters start talking to each other or interacting. And you can even, as a GM, be you could softly say, through a PC, is I thought you guys were, why are they arguing? They just have that kind of relationship, or you can insinuate why that they're together. Because if you have a strong foundation to the PCs, even from session 1, I find that you just build on the story so much easier, instead of there being unnatural friction, or to be I think at this point, 3 sessions in, we would have made our way out of the burning city, and we have been yeah, I'm going back home. I have no reason to hang with you anymore, So
yes, this can help prevent the square peg round hole problem we've all seen at some point, where somebody had a character that just, or maybe multiple people at the table had characters that just didn't really fit.
Yeah.
Right. And so my statement is, you don't necessarily need them to be all have a group and have shared history together. That's one way to go. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. But this helps you plan, where we call it catching lightning in a bottle, because we've managed to achieve it a few times through these kinds of session 0s, where the characters are all thematically interesting together. Okay. And would have a reason to continue being together.
Yeah.
That might be that they have some past history, or related, or knew each other, or went to school together, or we're all part of a group, or we're all part of the same book club. I don't care, whatever the excuse was, right?
Yep.
but it could also be just their general outlooks on life vis-a-vis the campaign are going to align in compelling ways
Yep.
where they would find each other compelling. It doesn't mean they all agree,
Right.
right? They could have very different outlooks, but it helps you, but they're not going to be frictional outlooks in a negative way.
Right.
Very simple example. I'll take this out of the realm of the sort of amorphous I'm talking in and into the real. Somebody's like, well, I want to play a character who like is a necromantic type necromancer who like just is trying to unlock the secrets of life and the undead, and that's what I want to do. Okay, that's character one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then character two is like, I want to follow the Morning Lord and I hate and destroy all undead forever, and they are terrible, and I will never abide by an undead walking the earth. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, one of you two's got to go.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's not going to be positive friction.
Yeah.
Like just one of you two is going to have to, it won't be able to play
Let's
your
table
character.
that character for another campaign. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you could raise that up a level and say, okay, in this campaign, we're going to be exploring a lot of different magical secrets, and undead are going to be a part of it and stuff like that. So probably the one doesn't work, right? Find somebody like, you get what I mean? Like it could be rolling up against each other or sorry, placing against each other or rolling up to the GM. Either way, right? It's about finding that group that's going to be synergistic in an interesting way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the kind of thing that you get to see coming and you can prevent before someone is fully invested in that character. That is the whole point of the session 0 and this preseason leading up to session 1 is nipping that in the bud before anybody is so stuck in the mud about how excited and how passionate they are about this, where they don't want to change or they don't see the friction or point of it of not playing what they want to play. Let's grab that ahead of time. And that is a very important thing. Yes. And one thing that you said there that really sticks with me is having a past history is an easy way to build a bond, but the easiest way is, regardless of any history before, is their goals aligning for the future, right?
That's right.
So now that I know as a GM who you are and what your goals are and what what passions you have, I can help align those goals, because your goals may not line up at all, but I can set the intro from season 1 of our story that those streams just happened to cross. So it just makes logical sense that, I am going for the ancient artifact. I am trying to find my missing uncle. Those stories intersect, right? And you allowed yourself to do that because you learned about them and their stories, and you had time to build that into the story you do for the first, wing of the campaign.
Yeah, and like just as a point, so I was just watching that new season of that Wednesday show. Familiar with this? The
I
like
have
Wednesday
not watched
Addams
it
or whatever.
I have not watched it. I didn't see season 1.
It's pretty
either,
fun,
actually, but I heard it's good.
It's a fun show.
Okay.
At any rate, they like the two sort of main central protagonist kids that are interacting the most are Wednesday, who is obviously like goth girl, no emotion extraordinaire, right? And Enid, her friend, who's like a lycanthrope and loves bright, colorful things and is very poppy and happy and wears her emotions on her sleeve, right? These are classic two opposing characters, but they get on very well in the show because they end up balancing each other out in interesting ways. Because in the end, even though those like superficial things seem opposed, they're both interested in solving mysteries and having adventure, right?
Yeah.
Like they're both brave and both want to help their friends and stuff like that, right? They have the overarching same goal. So even though the superficial stuff seems opposed, the overarching goal aligns. The two characters work well together.
Right. And often
that's the kind of stuff you want to draw out in that session.
And oftentimes that at face value, the characters seem like they would be nowhere near each other, are often the most interesting storytellers in a world where they do align that way. Right.
Right.
That's why that show is better, for the fact that the other character isn't just like Wednesday. It would be much more boring.
Sure.
Yeah. Tell me Pugsley is in that show, because it's going to be a worse show.
He is. He's very big in season 2. He's like a whole major plot point of season 2 revolves around Pugsley.
That and Steve Buscemi's in it, and everything Steve Buscemi's in is amazing.
He's really good in season 2.
All right.
This isn't the Wednesday recap podcast, but it's good.
Oh, good.
Let me say, I want to say one other. I got a couple quick things to close us out here. Okay. Number one, if you roll stats like we do our stat rolling as part of this session as well. We'll do a whole episode on rolling stats in the future and why I think rolling stats is correct and stuff like that. But the point is that like we do our stat rolling during this session.
Because you could the way you roll, to clarify, is that you can assign the stats wherever you want. So you just know what your numbers are walking away. You need to make final decisions.
And that can open or close certain character ideas.
Sure, right.
Right, to be fair.
Right.
Like when it comes to the nitty and the gritty of the thing.
Yep.
Okay. So that's number one.
Okay.
Number, like my sort of final closing thing on this, right, is that the thing that will keep a game being played is, above all else, players who are engaged with their characters, like feel attached and engaged to their characters and feel attached and engaged to the story, right? All the time I hear about people crashing and burning in games because of whatever, life, the universe, and everything, right? Like it's just, we didn't keep going with it. My experience is that if you have a game where people are really dialed in, people really like are loving their character, loving the adventure, feel like the GM knows them and like has shaped the game to them in some way, right? Where he's giving them things to do, to express their character, to meet their goals, to set new goals, to encounter both successes and failures, trials and travails, right? And all those things to overcome. People will work harder to keep showing up to that game, right? And the way you get to that good place is by having one of the ways to get there is by having a great session 0 and the associated activities afterward leading up to 1, so that you have aligned PCs, you have a GM that's on the same page, and you're all starting off from such a strong place. And then over the course of it, that alignment, that engagement yields those benefits.
Yep.
Right. So it's not just for the fun of this, it's literally can help the overall long-term health of your game and your table and keep your people playing.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, because if we're talking about just being practical, well, we're now one session behind of when we could have been playing our game, but instead we got no gameplay together, and we still took all this time in prioritizing us getting together to set aside a chunk of time for us to do D&D. And we didn't actually do any D&D. You did. You laid the groundwork. You paved the road so the cars don't all get flat tires inevitably somewhere on the way out of town. That is the whole point of this session 0 chat. And ever since I've done it, it's always evolved for me. And do not think it is a ones and zeros. It's just shades of gray of what works for you, what works for your group. And I just think that you can kind of find what fits for you. But the fact,
that's such a good point. There's no one way to do this.
No.
Yes, agreed.
There is not. And as long as you just kind of set the groundwork, if it's the very first time you've done it, or if you want to try it in a brand new way, that again, session 0 is about laying the groundwork for the campaign. But sometimes you need to lay the groundwork and expectations of what we're doing with this time together. And just so their mindset is right and they're not frustrated when they join the video call or they come to your house or whatever, and they're not actually rolling dice and killing goblins today. If you set that expectation, and then they will quickly get into the excitement and the fun, because they're not like, oh, that's not what I thought we were doing today. So you set them up and say, trust me, this is going to be worth it. You're going to be excited. I'm excited. Let's talk about it together. And boom, the fun is they'll be champing at the bit for session 1 after this.
Love it. That's great.
That's it.
Beautiful.
In a nutshell. What kind of nut is this? Help. That is session 0 in a nutshell. And why, in my opinion, it's the single most important session of your entire D&D campaign. If it was just one, because I don't know which other one. I mean, you could screw up a lot in any given session, and your campaign can still be awesome.
I mean, one last thing, it's also just fun.
It is so fun. It's so fun.
It's fun to sit around and talk about your characters.
Yeah, I said it's so much fun.
Pitch ideas,
you just
get crazy.
Sit and eat snacks and tell jokes. And
no pressure.
Think about the craziest ideas. Think about what sweet salamander pets you're going to have. Like, all these things and more can be yours at session 0. Thanks, Izzy Boyds, for joining us. We appreciate appreciate you each and every week. We appreciate that you join us. We appreciate that you subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate that you leave a good review on all the podcast locales. We appreciate that you tell your D&D nerdy friends about us. We appreciate you commenting, you just being wonderful people. We appreciate you, and it means that we get to talk into the void about one of our favorite things in the world, Dungeons and Dragons.